most important thing of all. And Diana and I both loved the idea of it. You fell in love, it overwhelmed you, and once you were in it, everything was perfect. It sounded to me like a particularly delicious bath, deep and warm with lots of bubbles. "Shall I tell you something incredible, Sandy?" Diana asked. I nodded eagerly. "My daddy's got a new friend. She's called Lady Rain Dartmouth." That was, I concurred, an extraordinary name. "That's not the amazing thing." Diana leaned toward me, her blue eyes huge and excited. "Her mother is actually Barbara Cartland." Astonished as I was also aware that this sort of thing seemed typical of Diana's family. From what I had heard from other people and Diana herself, the Spencers were unbelievably dramatic and exotic. And, as I was now going home with her for the holidays, I would meet them all. I had met Diana at school. Although we had not been friends initially, we came from very different backgrounds. I was an orphan. My parents had died in a car crash when I was a baby. Aunt Mary had brought me up. She was my father's oldest sister, an austere spinster of modest means. She was undemonstrative, but believed in the proper education of girls. Undaunted by the fact that she lacked the money for good schools, she scoured the Daily Telegraph for scholarship opportunities. Of these, my current school was the latest. And, I hoped, the last, although Aunt Mary's quest to find the best school for the least outlay was something of a mania with her. But I was fed up with moving and wanted somewhere I could settle down, sit exams, and go on to university. After which Aunt Mary assured me the world and all its opportunities would open up. The school occupied a large, pale house at the end of a long tree-lined drive. Sweeping green parkland stretched to either side. With its imposing portico and castellated stable yard, it looked glamorous and impressive. On the day I was dropped off, the families saying farewell on the drive looked glamorous and impressive too. Beside each was a shiny new trunk painted with at least 4 initials. New hats, bags, tuck boxes, and sports equipment were piled round it. Not far away was the shiny family car. Aunt Mary did not have a car. We had come on the train. Transporting my own battered second-hand trunk, sporting just the 2 initials, had required help that was not always willingly given. My blazer, too, was second-hand, while my skirt, handmade by Aunt Mary to save money, was not of the regulation cut. My shoes, meanwhile, looked like barges, bought 2 sizes too large so I could grow into them, and forcing a clumping, graceless walk. I looked around me, wondering who I would be friends with, if anyone. Socially, I did not aspire to much. To pass muster and blend in would be enough. My new peers looked much the usual mixture. There were the confident and beautiful ones, the bouncy and sporty ones, and the plain ones, among whom I, small, plump, and heavily bespectacled, would be one of the plainest. Also conspicuous were the girls who had never been to boarding school before, but who had read Enid Blyton and begged their parents to send them. They were easy to identify. Wide-eyed, looking excitedly about as they tried to spot real-life equivalents of the heroines of St. Clair's and Mallory Towers. I felt rather sorry for them. They would be shattered to discover that the world of midnight feasts and classroom tricks did not exist. Nothing about a real boarding school was anything like Enid Blyton novels. In Enid Blyton, girls were celebrated for their individuality. In real life, conformity was everything. In Enid Blyton, rich girls with titles were taken down a peg or 2. In real life, they were worshipped. As a poor girl in a succession of wealthy schools, I had more reason to know that than most. I felt a brief, hopeless stir of loneliness, anticipating the games where I would be the last picked for teams, the dancing lessons where I wouldn't have a partner. Then I took a deep, sinew-stiffening breath. I was lucky to be here, and it was a means to what would ultimately be a glorious end. Aunt Mary had done her best for me, and it was my duty to get on with it. My aunt said a final hurried goodbye and shut the door, and the